Hello everyone, welcome you all to the third video of the series of videos that I am creating to support your German driving license Class B theory exam. This is the part B of the first lesson, traffic signs and devices, and if you have not watched the part A, please watch them to get a continuity. I shall leave them in the I button. If you have not seen my first video, where I have offered you some practical tips and techniques to get started with your exam preparation, I recommend you also watch that. I will leave them somewhere in the description. My name is Ranjit and welcome you all to this video from Life is Beautiful, where I would cover regulatory signs, speed limit signs, and parking and stopping signs which would support you in your German driving license preparation.
Now let's look at regulatory signs or instruction signs. Just to explain what this means, I've just used two examples. If you see something in dark red bordered circle, it tells you what you should not do. And if you see something like this in a blue background, it tells you what you should do. Okay, so regulatory signs or instruction signs, these are not like warning signs that we saw. These are mandatory orders that you must follow on the road. Okay, so now let's look at them in detail. Yeah, so if you see something like this, these depicts mandatory direction of your travel. Yeah, and you must also indicate, because you're turning left, you must indicate when you're turning right, but there is no option that you could move straight forward. So if you see this, you will have to turn right. If you see this, you can either turn left or right, but you cannot go forward or you cannot go straight ahead. If you see this, the mandatory travel for you to continue your journey is that you must travel right. Yeah, and if you see something like this, then if you see an obstacle, you must pass the obstacle from the left. If you see this, this tells you that you can only go straight ahead and cannot turn left or right. And if you see this, it tells you that you might have to pass over an obstacle which is on the right. This tells you that there is a dead end street. Okay, and this tells you that you are not supposed to take a U-turn. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, these are some additional prohibitions. So if you see something like this, this tells you that mopeds are prohibited. If you see something like this, this is bicycle prohibition. These are motorcycles prohibitions, right? But there are some exceptions, as you can notice. Motorcycles and mopeds can still travel through the road where you see this. Here motorcycles and mopeds are prohibited. If you see something like this, it tells you no overtaking allowed. Okay, but I mean, please go through the descriptions as well. I might not cover everything, but these are all self-explanatory. If you see something like this, it tells you do not enter. This tells you roads are closed, but I have put some additional remarks that cycles and pushed motorcycles are still allowed to enter here. Here it gives you a rating. That means any vehicle which is greater than 8 ton is not allowed to enter this space or this road which has this traffic signal. So if you see something like this, there are quite a lot of questions around this. So if you see this tells you that any vehicle which is more than 3.8 meter in height should not enter this road. Anything which is more than 2 meter width, you should also consider the load that you're carrying, should not enter. Again, there are length restrictions given in this kind of roads with these symbols. Yeah, here this tells you that stopping is not allowed. We will talk about stopping and parking in subsequent slides. If you see this, I'm sure you have all seen this. These are bus stops, and take a note that parking or stopping within 15 meters of this sign is prohibited. Okay, let's move on. These are speed limits signs. So if you see this tells you that you cannot drive over 60 kilometers. Okay, this is more or less the opposite of this. You must travel at least 60 kilometer on this road. So if your vehicle is not capable to reach 60 kilometer, then you're not allowed to enter a road which has this mark. Again, it tells you a special zone which has a speed limit of 30 kilometer. Again, this is conditional speed limit. Look at this. It tells you that you're not allowed to travel more than 80 kilometer provided it's wet road. That's the condition. Okay, this signifies snow chains. So this tells you that there is a speed limit of 50 km per hour. Yeah, and now go through these. If you see this, that a board is then crossed with many lines like this, diagonal lines, then this tells you the end of the zone. So this tells you this is an end of speed limit zone. So 30 tells you, so this one told you it's a speed limit zone of 30 kilometer, and when you get this board ahead of you, it tells you that there is an end to that speed limit which was restricted. This tells you the end of speed limit 60. This tells you end of all restrictions. Okay, let's move on. Now let's look at some additional symbols that you will see in your question set. Pedestrian path, this tells you this is only pedestrians, so no other vehicles are allowed here. So this tells you this is a footpath. This tells you this is a mandatory cycle path. Okay, so you cannot drive a motorbike, for example, here. This is a mandatory bus lane. This tells you this is for horses only. Okay, this tells you that you are now entering the autobahn. This tells you that you are in an expressway where only motor vehicles can enter. This tells you the end of the autobahn. This tells you the end of an expressway. Okay, look at this symbol here. Yeah, it says Fahrradstraße Anlieger free. I've given you some additional comments as well. Cyclists are allowed here. Vehicles, if driven by residents, are allowed here, but you should not travel more than 30 km. Persons visiting residents are allowed, and remember, you should not impede any cycle traffic when you enter. If you see this, it tells you now you are going to enter a tunnel. If you see this, it tells you it's a traffic calming zone. And if you see this, it tells you it's the end of a traffic calming zone. If you see something like this, it tells you that there is an emergency wayside. So that means there are specific roads. This is generally associated with a tunnel. So in the tunnel there are space for emergency stopping. Okay, and if you see the symbol, that's where you should stop in the event of an emergency.
Now let's look at some parking and stopping signs. Please follow my mouse. So this sign, a red cross, this is for the no stopping sign. Okay, this sign with just one cross, this signifies no parking. And what is considered in Germany as parking? If you stop in a place for more than 3 minutes, then that's considered as parking. And also if you exit the vehicle, if you leave the vehicle, then that's also considered as parking. Okay, so that means you can actually stop for less than 3 minutes in a no parking area. And also note that you can wait for boarding or discharging, as well as loading and unloading. Okay, please read this description, and these are very easy. If you see this with the stopping sign, if you see this additional supplementary sign, this means no stopping on hard shoulder or the roadway. Okay, what is a hard shoulder? Please search and find it out yourself, or watch my first video. If you see something like this, this is a no parking zone. Okay, so parking restrictions are in place in some of these areas. Read the text for yourself. If you see this with an additional remark mentioned here, this means that only residents holding a parking license may park here. If you see this parking symbol with this supplementary sign, this means you can park here, but with a parking ticket, and make sure that the ticket is visible. Okay, if you see this P plus R, this means that there is a facility where you could park and then continue your ride on a public transportation. Okay, if you see this, a parking symbol associated with an additional supplementary image, this means that there is a parking place for hikers. So that means there will be a parking lot. You can expect vehicles coming in and out of that parking lot. You can also expect people moving in and out of this location. So beware that this could all happen. What is this? A P with a supplementary sign. As it can be seen, this parking is restricted for some special category. You should have an official handicapped permit to allow a parking in this space. Okay, if you see this signifies an end of parking control zone. Thank you all of you for watching the video so far, and please stay tuned for the part C, where I would cover some additional signs. There are some service signs and also some other additional signs which are relevant for your exam preparation. And towards the end, let's also cover some additional exam questions to cover the entire traffic signs that we have covered with the 3 parts for the lesson 1. Thank you so much.